This is a crankshaft out of a 20 horsepower Briggs & Stratton, and the motor locked up. What happened was it got low on oil and the connecting rod froze to the crankshaft right here, and I had a heck of a time getting it out of there. But anyhow, as you can see, the metal from the connecting rod is aluminum, and it's kind of seized itself and melded itself to the steel on the crankshaft. And what I want to try to do is to make this shine like this right here without taking any of the steel off. That way I can buy a new connecting rod and put it on there without having to get one that's oversized or whatever, and not have to take this thing to a machine shop because it wouldn't be worth rebuilding the motor. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to get that aluminum off of there. Here's a good shot of a big old chunk of it that's melted on it, and get it cleaned up to where we can put a new one on there and get this thing back in service. Okay, I got a little bit of Dawn, toothbrush, a little bit of water, and I'm going to get the oil off of there. Take your toothbrush and get it wet and get the oil off of it so I can go to the next step. In this cup I got acid, and acid will dissolve aluminum. It might discolor the steel a little bit, but we'll take care of that. It won't eat the steel though. So I'm going to take the acid, put it on the crankshaft, and get the aluminum off of there. Here you can see it just eating away at it. Pretty quick too, it doesn't take too long. Whoo! There it is, it's coming along. Now as you go along with brushing it, you want to keep going back to your soap in between putting the acid on it, but oil is embedded in the aluminum as it melts, so while you're taking this off, it resurfaces the crankshaft with oil. So you take the soap and degrease it again so the acid can have a little bit better effect on it. But as you can see, it's pretty much coming off of there. Just a little more to go, and this thing should be shining pretty good. Okay, after about 30 or 40 minutes of scrubbing on it with acid and a toothbrush, this is what I'm down to. You can see I got a little oil on there. That's where all that dust and stuff is, but you can see that it's pretty smooth all the way across. It's just needs a little cleaned up with some really super fine sandpaper. This is the area right here where that big chunk was. You can see it's gone, but These are more like stains in the crank than they are scratches. If you take your fingernail and you rub across it, it's just as smooth as can be. So this thing should polish up pretty nice. And okay, all the aluminum's off of the crankshaft, and next I'm going to use some honing solution, and this is 1200 grit sandpaper, wet and dry. Get this thing wet. And we're going to wrap this around there a couple times, all to where it overlaps itself like that. And I'm going to take a rope and go around it a couple times like that. And then we're just gonna go back and forth for about 30 seconds like this with it, and try to knock that last little bit of stain off of the journal, or off the crankshaft. Pull this off of there. All in all, it took about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer, to do everything that I did to get it smooth enough to where you could use it again. But you can see all the way around that thing, it's pretty. It's nice and smooth. There's no gouges or grooves in it. And this thing's ready to go back in the engine.